down on his campaign trail promises, telling residents that the days of unreliable power, limited land access and basic services are about to be left behind for good. Speaking at Kururu yesterday, his second rally since launching the PPPC's campaign in Kitty last weekend, the president laid out an ambitious blueprint to transform the entire corridor into what he described as a modern hub of economic and social growth. At the heart of that plan is round-the-clock electricity for every household, something many residents have been demanding for years. With full connection to the Guyana Power and Light grid, the president says communities can expect not only consistent power, but the chance to attract new businesses, create jobs, and keep more economic benefits right at home instead of exporting raw materials alone. Alongside that, the promise of a new first-class healthcare facility on par with the well-equipped Diamond Hospital is expected to give residents along the highway much-needed access to modern medical care, including accident and emergency services, surgical theaters, and fully outfitted wards. Education is also firmly on the government's radar. The president reminded the crowd that university education is now free and pointed to expanded nursing and technical training programs, aiming to give the region's youth clear pathways into medicine, engineering, and skilled trades without having to uproot their lives. It's all part of the PPP's wider push to shore up support in Region 4, Guyana's most populated voting bloc, where the numbers have never swung fully in their favor. In the last general elections, the PPP secured just over 80,000 votes in Region 4, falling behind the APNU-AFC coalition. Now, with a bolder vision for local development, the party is openly asking residents for total support when they head to the polls in September.
I challenge any other political party. I challenge any leader to come here and speak to you with such a clearly defined plan for the Linden-Soesdyke Highway. This plan is not only about wealth transfer through vulnerability indicators. This is about wealth creation. There is a difference between wealth transfer and wealth creation. This plan is about helping you to create opportunities to grow, to create opportunities to build businesses, to create opportunity to have a prosperous future right here on the Linden-Soesdyke Highway. That is why we're going to give you greater access to land ownership. That is why we're going to give you greater access to capital, financial resources. We want every single person on the highway to be gainfully occupied in life. Whether you're a child, we want you to be in school. Whether you're a young person, we want you to be in university or at work. Every woman, every man must have the possibility of being empowered to earn and add to the wealth creation of their families and communities.
And while the president is laying out promises on the ground, back at Freedom House, PPP General Secretary Dr. Bar Jagdeo is clarifying just what the party is and isn't offering its new faces. Friends, Jagdeo highlighted that the PPP's candidate list this year is peppered with young people, some just out of school, including an 18-year-old who is officially the youngest candidate in the party's lineup. But Jagdeo made it clear that these fresh faces shouldn't expect a government post just yet. He says there have been no promises of jobs or ministries. Instead, the focus for now is on what he called building capacity, giving young candidates the chance to learn the ropes of governance and policy making so they're ready to step up in the years ahead. The General Secretary also faced questions about Nigel Darmlal, the former minister who resigned after rape allegations were made against him. The matter didn't go forward, and the DPP said there was no basis for charges, but Darmlal's inclusion on the candidate list has drawn public scrutiny. Again, Jagdeo repeated no guarantees have been made for any candidate, not Darmlal, not the newcomers, As the PPP says, it is focused squarely on securing its mandate and then deciding who's best suited to deliver on the promises.
Nobody knows what they're going to get now at this stage. We don't say you're going to be chairing a board. You're going to be the CEO of an entity. All of those things are, we haven't won the elections as yet. We're not so arrogant, although we think we're going to win the elections, but the other parties, that's all they do. They're telling people, you're going to get this, you're going to get that, etc. Every member, why do you think France went across to the other man? They signed an agreement. It's a secret agreement they have that he's going to get something if they win. Well, they know they can't win, even if they get a seat, etc. They're signing, giving away things they don't even have as yet. We're a different approach to government.
And with just weeks to go before the country heads to the polls, the Guyana Elections Commission is urging thousands of workers, especially those offshore or deep in the interior, to remember they have a legal right to cast their vote. In a notice issued yesterday, GECOM reminded companies that they're legally required to grant reasonable paid time off on election day for employees to vote with no penalties or pay cuts. It's a timely reminder for workers in oil and gas, mining, bauxite and logging who are often away from their voting districts for weeks or even months at a time. Under the Representation of the People's Act, any employer who blocks an employee from voting or tries to intimidate them into staying on the job faces a fine of up to $65,000 or up to 6 months in prison. GECOM is urging workers to have these conversations with their bosses now, rather than waiting until the last minute. With a record number of registered voters and the stakes higher than ever, the Commission says no one should be left out because they're stuck on duty far from a polling station. And on the administrative side of things, today marks a crucial deadline. GECOM is expected to officially approve the final list of candidates for all contesting political parties. While some groups have already claimed their lists are good to go, GECOM's official stamp is what counts. The big players, PPPC and APNU, reportedly had no issues to fix, but smaller parties like the AFC, Forward Guyana Movement, and We Invest in Nationhood had to scramble this week to correct errors like missing names or not enough candidates to meet the minimum required in certain categories. Parties had until midnight last night to fix these problems or risk being disqualified altogether, a consequence that would effectively silence their voices at the ballot box come September. GECOM now has until today, exactly 45 days before Election Day, to formally declare all approved lists and their candidates, clearing the decks for the next phase of campaigning. Turning now to crime, and a strange find on the west bank of Demerara has left police with more questions than answers. A 52-year-old social worker in Westminster, Parfait Harmony, discovered an unlicensed .32 revolver hidden in a rice bag at her home yesterday afternoon. According to initial reports, the woman's aunt had brought the bag over Wednesday night, planning to use the rice to feed the family's dogs. But when the social worker reached into the half-full bag to scoop out some rice, she felt something unusual and uncovered the revolver wrapped tightly in black plastic. She wasted no time contacting the police, who arrived promptly, seized the weapon, and lodged it at the Parfait Harmony police station. Investigators have since turned their attention to the aunt, who is now being questioned as they try to figure out how the gun got there and who it really belongs to. And finally, looking abroad, a major shift in U.S. foreign policy is raising eyebrows in diplomatic circles. An internal cable seen by Reuters has revealed that U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has ordered American diplomats worldwide to stay clear of commenting on fairness or integrity of other countries' elections. In a break from decades of Washington's push to promote democracy and free and fair elections, the new directive says diplomats should only issue congratulatory messages when results are declared and only speak about shared foreign policy interests if it's deemed necessary. The cable also makes clear that any statements must come directly from the Secretary or a department spokesperson, and diplomats are banned from weighing in without explicit approval. The shift aligns with President Donald Trump's vow to stop what he calls Western interventionists from telling other countries how to run their affairs. It's another sign of how the U.S. is rethinking its role abroad, raising fresh questions about what that means for countries where American voices once pressured leaders to respect human rights and democratic norms. And that's where we wrap up your Newsroom Morning Brief for today, Friday, July 18, 2025. For more on these stories and the very latest updates throughout the day, stay with us here and online at newsroom.gy, or join us right here again at 12 and 1600 hours for our daily brief. And don't forget to watch the main cast at 1900 hours on E1, Scar TV, and Tarzi TV in Bartica. I'm Kurt Campbell. Thanks for joining us. Have a safe and productive day.